H-Town, hold it down. We've got a brand new offensive coordinator in the H, and you know what it is. Texans Today. When breaking news happens, we make a video. We're one of the first people on the scene, so that's why you hit this sub button for constant Texans content. Breaking news when it happens, only one channel does it, and it's here at Texans Today. The Texans have officially hired Nick Caley to be their next offensive coordinator. The former Rams pass game coordinator and tight ends coach will now be calling plays and be in control of the offense for the Houston Texans. A good move, in my opinion. The 42-year-old is considered a young coach in the NFL. He started coaching in 2005 and has worked for 7 different collegiate programs. His first NFL job was actually with the New England Patriots as their tight end coach in 2017. Worked with Rob Gronkowski in some of his best seasons with the Patriots. He was hired by the Rams in 2023 as their tight end coach. We saw how Tyler Higbee kind of developed under Caley, had been working very closely with Matthew Stafford, was also the passing game coordinator with LA, and Sean McVay rants and raves about this guy, saying he is one of the smartest young coaches in the NFL. And I don't know if McVay can say one of the smartest young coaches when I think McVay might be a little younger than him, but regardless, Nick Caley, a very good hire in my opinion. The Texans making moves, and they finally went out and hired their next OC. So go down in the comments section, grade the hire of Nick Caley as the next OC. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. Get down in the comment section. This is going to be the pinned comment in today's video. So if you get hit with YouTube ad break, perfect timing, no stress. Go on down and voice your opinion. Grade the hire of Nick Caley. Now, with Caley, obviously, we talked about the tight ends, and the tight end room for the Texans was a little underwhelming this past season. Maybe we see a bounce back for Dalton Schulz, maybe a breakout for somebody like a Cade Stover in year 2 or a Brevin Jordan coming back from injury. I think all those are very much in play, but Caley was a hot commodity, and he brings a lot to the Houston Texans. I mean, he brings, a lot of good with pass protection from this Rams team. Really, the run scheme is one thing that I think is one of the major issues why the Texans wanted to bring Caley over, and his protection schemes are very good. He was mainly a defensive coach in college, which I think just tells you how smart this young man is. And I say young man like he's not older than me, but young coach for the NFL. He understands the game and is a student of the game. Even though he doesn't have play calling experience, he worked under Sean McVay and kind of had the McVay dust rub off on him a little bit. And then he obviously has those ties with the Texans going back to Nick Caserio. Caley, he was an option for many teams, but the Texans, I think throughout the whole process, he was probably their number one guy, because in life, it's all about who you know and the connections that you have. And Caley had those connections with the Houston Texans. I mean, like I said, worked under Sean McVay, which, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, all those guys kind of are buddy-buddy, kind of run in the same circles between McVay and Shanahan. He also interviewed for the Texans OC job back in 2023 when Demeco Ryans was hired as the head coach. And he worked with Caserio in New England and happened to graduate from John Carroll University, just like the Texans GM, Nick Caserio. So those ties were there. He's proven himself in LA, has some skins on the wall there as being a, pass game coordinator, tight ends coach, has been in the league for a little bit. And I'm not saying that it's only because he has those ties with Caserio and that he has those ties with Sean McVay, but I think a mix of those and then his pedigree really made him the top option for the Houston Texans. I thought at the beginning of this search that they were going to be looking for somebody with much more play calling experience, but it looks like the Texans coveted more a smart young mind, similar to, I guess, Bobby Slowick whenever he was brought over by the Houston Texans from San Francisco. But they really want a smart young guy to head up this offense to help CJ Stroud out, and they think Nick Caley can take Stroud to the next level. We'll talk more about that in just a moment, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors over at Game Time. It's my place to get last-second tickets, and it should be your place as well. The big game is coming up, the last game of the season, and if you're trying to get the lowest prices guaranteed on last-second tickets, you know where to go. It's over at Game Time. You can see your seat view from the app. You can also access your tickets right from your phone, and they have zone deals, which really helps you find the best bang for your buck. And speaking of best bang for your buck, they also have Game Time Picks, which basically filters out all the fluff and shows you the very best deals on the app. Yeah, you don't have to waste hours searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time has you covered with the Game Time Picks, and the all-in pricing makes sure you're not getting bamboozled. The price you see is the price you get. Whenever you check out, that's what it's going to be. So head over to Game Time now and make sure you use that code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, use that code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today, whether you're trying to go to the big game or, hey, I don't know if you heard the news, but the Rockets might be the best team in Texas for basketball. Go check out a Rockets game. They are the number 2 team in the Western Conference. So if you want to check out anything in your area, just make sure you hit Houston on the tab, and then you can see all the sporting events, all the concerts, all the comedy shows this summer. Don't miss a single moment. Don't be like, hey, we could have had this amazing time, but I just didn't check the Game Time app. Don't let that be you. Go down in the comment section in the description of today's video. All those links will be readily available for you. Just remember, use that code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Now, before we talk about Caley and what he's going to do, let's look at the Texans offense and kind of where we stand right now and why the Texans were looking for a new offensive coordinator. Their ranks in 2024, yards per game, 22nd. Passing yards per game, 21st. Rushing yards per game, 15th, and points per game, 19th. Every single major statistical category, the Texans were bottom half of the league. And whenever I analyzed and looked at the film and looked at, what are the biggest issues with the Texans? Horrible run scheme. Horrible run scheme. If you didn't have Joe Mixon, this would be the worst rushing team in the NFL. His ability to make guys miss in the backfield and his explosiveness really, I would say, covered up a lot of the holes that the Texans had in their run blocking and run blocking schemes. It was atrocious this year when you look at the tape at some of these Texans running plays and their run schemes. The O-line play in that measure was a disaster, not only in the run game, but also in pass protection, and really in blitz pickup was the biggest issue. And I think that's what Caley can bring over and really help. Matthew Stafford, with his time with the Rams, he's been able to, make those checks, make those hot reads, and make sure that the Rams don't get just bombarded by blitzes. That the Texans, look at the last game of the year that they had up against the Chiefs. That was their Achilles heel, the blitz pickup. That was the worst part of this Texans offense, and the offensive line play was just horrific this season. And I just think the Texans couldn't make adjustments. Whenever they had something going, whenever a team stopped whatever they were good at, they really had no rebuttal. I mean, look at that, Detroit Lions game in the middle of the year. Look at half the games the Texans played. The first half, it looked like this team was doing great, and then they'd get into the second half, and the offense would slow down, and they wouldn't be able to make those same, long, sustaining drives like they did. I mean, most of the times, it would be the very first drive from halftime, they would do well, and then past that, they couldn't make those fourth quarter adjustments, and hopefully Caley can do that. And another thing that really we'll be all looking at, obviously, is CJ Stroud. Can Caley take Stroud to the next level? And we're hoping that his time in Los Angeles and his time working with Matthew Stafford, he can impart some of that wisdom into CJ Stroud. Because if you look at Stafford's stats the past 4 years, I mean, obviously, they speak for themselves. I mean, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, has had some, injury concerns over the past 3 seasons, but still is widely regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, a fringe top 10, a top 10 quarterback to say the best. So I'm really hoping Caley can help out CJ Stroud. And talking about CJ Stroud, the last question I wanted to ask in this video is, what's up with Jerrod Johnson? Where does he go from here? Because he was, interviewed for the Tampa Bay job. He was interviewed for the New York job. He was interviewed for the Texans OC job. He was interviewed for the Raiders OC job. didn't end up getting any of those positions. So does he just return as the quarterback coach? Because if that's the case, this is an A++ hire for me. If you're able to keep Jerrod Johnson and get Nick Caley, I think this is best case scenario for the Houston Texans, because you have Jerrod Johnson, who has that familiarity with CJ Stroud, and then you have Nick Caley come in to bring in new ideas and to bring in new thoughts and to bring in kind of a new updated scheme. Because I know it's very similar to the scheme they already run, but a little bit of update, freshness to the offense that this team desperately needs. I think that would be best case scenario. Be on the lookout for what happens with Jerrod Johnson. Hopefully the Texans can keep him and maybe give him a little bit of a status upgrade. Maybe have him be a, QB coach and, run game, pass game, whatever you need to do. I want the Texans to make sure they keep Jerrod Johnson in the building. I don't know how hard or how easy that would be, since, he didn't end up getting a lot of these other OC positions. But if they could keep Jerrod Johnson next year, that would be an A++, coaching staff behind CJ Stroud, in my opinion, going into next year. Now, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you made it to the end of the video, I know you're an absolute real one. Make sure you drop those H's down below in the comment section so I know who the real ones are. Last thing, Nick Caley, welcome to the H, baby. Go down and spam those H's. Really hopeful for this Texans offense going into next season. Welcome to the H, Nick Caley.